Some of you may experience deja vu. We assembled 60 minutes of clips and end it all with some really great meme music you're sure to enjoy. Use this video to torture your libtard friends and family.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. I hope that he will be a successful president for all Americans. This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, and I'm sorry that we did not win this election for the values we share and the vision we hold for our country. But I feel pride and gratitude for this wonderful campaign that we built together, this vast, diverse, creative, unruly, energized campaign. You represent the best of America, and being your candidate has been one of the greatest honors of my life. I know how disappointed you feel because I feel it too. And so do tens of millions of Americans who invested their hopes and dreams in this effort. This is painful, and it will be for a long time. But I want you to remember this. Our campaign was never about one person or even one election. It was about the country we love and about building an America that's hopeful, inclusive, and big-hearted. We have seen that our nation is more deeply divided than we thought. But I still believe in America, and I always will. And if you do, then we must accept this result and then look to the future. Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead. Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power. And we don't just respect that, we cherish it. It also enshrines other things: the rule of law, the principle that we are all equal in rights and dignity, freedom of worship and expression. We respect and cherish these values too, and we must defend them. Finally, I am so grateful for our country and for all it has given to me. I count my blessings every single day that I am an American. And I still believe, as deeply as I ever have, that if we stand together and work together with respect for our differences, strength in our convictions, and love for this nation, our best days are still ahead of us.
I think it's going to be the same as 2016. Don't vote for the other guy. You don't like me, don't vote for the other guy, because the other guy's going to do X, Y, and Z, or the other guy did such terrible things. And I'm going to show you in these, flashing videos that appear and then disappear, and they're on the dark web and nobody can find them. But you're going to see them, and you're going to see that person doing these horrible things.
Thank God for the deep state.
The other thing is, when you look at the Congress, though, it's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.
I've been getting into it on Twitter this morning with people over this, is that people are saying this is just free speech, you're being a snowflake, you're so sensitive. First of all, you're talking about sitting senators, and you're talking about Congress people, Maxine Waters, Mitt Romney, Adam Schiff, Bernie Sanders, President Obama, the Clintons, my father. You can't kill him again, but whatever.
And your father was never considered smart. He was never considered a good senator. He was only a good vice president because he understood how to kiss Barack Obama's ass. True. Thank you. Thank you. It's true. It's true. And they're always saying the same thing. Yeah, he got $1.5 billion. We admit it. They admit it. There's nothing. But always that same thing. President Trump made a totally unsubstantiated claim about Hunter Biden and his father. It's not unsubstantiated, you crooked son of a guns. It's 100% true. Even the smart guys on Wall Street, and I know all of them, they are smart. They've never seen anything like that one before. I've called them. Does that ever happen? Never happens. Guy walks in, no experience, no nothing. Walks out with $1.5 billion. Gee, flies in on Air Force Two with his father, the vice president. Don't forget, that's when he was vice president. So China gives his son $1.5 billion. How would you like to have Joe Biden take over negotiations right now with China? I don't think so. I don't think so. Meanwhile, Biden allowed China to rip off America for 8 years as vice president, and Barack Obama let him just rob us blind. And we're not doing that anymore. Those days are over. The Bidens got rich, and that is substantiated, while America got robbed. That's what happened. Sleepy Joe and his friends sold out America. They didn't have tough negotiations. I look at these trade deals, and I say, who the hell could have done this? If you had no business instinct, no business ability, if you had nothing, if you're dumb as hell, you wouldn't make these deals. They're so bad. I say, who made these deals? Who made these deals? But we're ripping them all up and redoing them, and they're going to be very good. Wait till you see what happens.
Be here for much long because of the climate crisis. We only have a few months left. I love that you support the Green Deal, but it's not getting rid of fossil fuel. It's not going to solve the problem fast enough. A Swedish professor saying we can eat dead people, but that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you, you're a pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now, please. You are so great. I'm so happy that you're really supporting the Green Deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution. So we have to get rid of the babies. That's a big problem. Just stopping having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies, and this is very serious. Please give a response.
This is a very sad time for our country. I say this to you with great sorrow and prayerfully.
Well, first let me say that this is no cause for any joy. This is a very sad time for our country. It's really sad. We have to be very prayerful. I pray for the president all the time. This is a very sad time for our country. There's no joy in this. It's sad. We must be somber, we must be prayerful, and we must pursue the facts further.
So I was distraught right after the election, but I'm now actually invigorated by the challenge and our ability to succeed in this challenge.
Let me ask you, I don't know if you have seen this. I don't want to blindside you with this. This is the latest statement, latest tweet, as you were just saying. The president-elect's latest unsolicited pronouncement on the intelligence community. This was his tweet just a little while ago tonight. You see the scare quotes there. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. We're actually told, intelligence sources tell NBC News since this tweet has been posted, that actually this intelligence briefing for the president-elect was always planned for Friday. It hasn't been delayed. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting, hostility...
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
Senator Charles Schumer of New York.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader?
Scott, President Obama and outgoing Russian President Medvedev were still deep in conversation as cameras were ushered into the room. And President Obama was overheard giving Medvedev a very candid political assessment of his ability to deal with the major problems between the U.S. and Russia. All of the issues can be solved, the president told Medvedev, but he stressed that it was particularly important for incoming Russian President Vladimir Putin to give him space on the missile defense system, which the U.S. and NATO want to install in Europe.
This is my last election, basically. Yeah. And after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah. And I transmit this information to Vladimir and Stanley.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And I take responsibility for those parts of it that I should. But Jane, it was like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. And so I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but clearly we know a lot and are learning more every day, and history will probably sort it all out.
What's more serious is that he can't win. That is very serious to our country, to us as America. What is America? America is our Constitution with our system of checks and balances, a republic, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, the guardian of our democracy, the press. That's one. That's America.
We have the cowardly Schiff, the biggest liar in Congress. We caught him on tape. He was trying to acquire naked pictures of Trump, naked pictures. Well, he was being pranked by people he thought were connected to the Russians. Yeah, Russia collusion, looking for dirt on an opponent. And we've got the tape. Listen.
And she met with Trump and she brought him 1 hour Russian girl, celebrity, Olga Buzova, who also known as a person with a strange reputation.
Olga, and how do you spell her name?
Olga Buzova.
And what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate your reaching out to us.
I got to admit, I really love that. What is the nature of the compromise? Can you give me the dirt? Naked pics of the Trump. Yeah. Oh, did Vladimir see them? But of course, Vladimir see the naked pics. Goes much deeper than a man on tape colluding with a Russian, the cowardly Schiff. One guy's been lying to us for 3 straight years. He just keeps lying. Biggest liar in Congress.
And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
And sure, they try and mix it up. They take the knitting needles away from the 85-year-old lady. Why? Because I'm going to knit an Afghan? Give them to me. And the 5-year-old kid, they're patting him down. He's going,
what are you doing? You're not a priest. Let go of me.
I see. So you've had a problem too, I guess. Father Pat's little private pat and chat's like, good game, boy. Good game. Good game. Wash up to me. Really wash up. It's amazing they would catch them, and it wasn't just enough to catch them, but they had the Divine Witness Protection Program. You know, find the priest, here's the pedophile, here's the priest, find the pedophile, find the priest, find the pedophile, there, move them around. Then we're going to say to make a. Don't you have to make them in tool. Here we go. Don't you ask, don't you tell, you might end up right in hell. Here we go, here we go. Here's your check direct from Rome. Buy yourself a brand new home. Moving around, moving around. Isn't it amazing? The Pope.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
That's what you would hope, because this whole downtown area behind me has been completely sealed off and evacuated, apart from the emergency workers. That was done by the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, much earlier today, because of, course, the dreadful collapse of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. But New York, very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly, the subway lines are not working properly, and we know that down there near the World Trade Center there are 3 schools that are being turned into triage centers for emergency treatment. And I know that over in New York Harbor, where the famous Statue of Liberty is, there's a field hospital where 1,500 people are being treated. And we have heard, though it's unconfirmed as yet, that 100 New York City police officers have been taken there as well for treatment. But we do need to confirm those figures for the officers.
It's now, what, some 8 hours since the attacks. Is there any estimate yet available of the number of casualties in the World Trade Center?
I think we can only go at this point with the words expressed by the mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, that it's too frightening to think how many there could be. We know that it's about almost 300 people on the airliners that were used in these attacks. But you've got to remember, this was 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday morning. It's busy in downtown Manhattan, in the financial district then. The World Trade Center itself has 50,000 workers. There are tens of thousands of tourists who go up there every day. The figures are almost too frightening to contemplate. You can understand why nobody yet wants to put a figure on them.
Listening to the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, a bit earlier, one of his messages was, business as usual. We won't let this get us down. But presumably, a lot of Manhattan people must have fled the city to Long Island to get away from possible further attacks.
Well, a lot of people were certainly trying to, but you remember that very early on, all the bridges and tunnels to the city, as well as the airports, were closed. New York was sealed, essentially. Now, we do know that the Long Island Railroad has begun running again to get people out of the city if they can, and people who can't manage to get out and perhaps lived in that area, they're being offered accommodation in empty school buildings. But certainly I saw earlier on today huge crowds of people desperately trying to walk up upper Manhattan to get as far away as possible. I think nobody really knows how to go or where to go, and you have to remember, even now, I don't think people can sink in to people what's happened.
We haven't, for the past hour or so, heard much from the people of Manhattan. You're with them there. I mean, what are they saying tonight after this catastrophic attack?
As I said, many just cannot believe this has happened, and I've seen, big burly men and women with tears in their eyes today, shaking their heads, wondering what on earth is going on. There was a sense of panic. Our reports from the scene were of people just absolutely horrified, and I've already seen some photographs that a man took down in the downtown area, and it looks like the aftermath of a huge atom bomb or something, just full of debris and of like a white carpeting of snow from all the dust and rubbish that had fallen. I don't think people can comprehend. They certainly have lost any feeling of safety. There's still a great pride in the city. People are determined to fight back, but a great sense of shock and loss. People keep looking at the sky, for example, where you can see the plume of smoke, and say, when that's gone, it won't be there anymore. Our Twin Towers won't be there. Such a symbol of New York.
Are they talking yet about revenge and what the government should do to counter this threat, or are they numb still?
I think people are still numb, and I don't think people are talking about revenge in that way at all yet. I think people are still too traumatized. We don't know how many people have been killed. We can't even put a figure. I think when you talk to people they daren't even say how many people might have been killed and injured. And I think that feeling, until idea of the devastation, people don't really know what to say or what to think. I think they feel the bubble of their security as being in America has definitely been popped. This city and this country will not be the same, but they don't really know where to turn. That's the very sad thing. I think there's going to be a lot of very, very traumatized people that has hit them very, very hard.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were completely flabbergasted by it and just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it's felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley in Manhattan. Perhaps we can rejoin her and follow that up later.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Say, as it relates to the man in the White House, the president under whose leadership we're seeing mass arrests of pedophiles and human traffickers hit an all-time high. What I want to say about this president is best said by the channel Where We Go One, We Go All, in the video, The Second American Revolution. In that video, which I will link below, and I highly recommend y'all watch and share, the producer is talking about his awakening and the fact that he noticed early on that the mainstream media was running cover for John Podesta and the leaked emails and Comet Ping Pong and the plague of pedophilia. And it really bothered him, so he started to dig deeper.
Something is definitely going on. And I'm not saying this inculcates any of them. I'm sure some of them are natural, but this is an extraordinary amount of deaths in just 2+ years, many of which being the absolute biggest names in their field. And it's not just celebrities. Kevin Spacey's accuser, dead by hit and run. Former Arkansas State Senator Linda Collins Smith, who was about to go public with incriminating evidence on sitting judges who were taking children from Child Protective Services and trafficking them, was found murdered. NYPD Chief Silks, who was outing pedophiles in the NYPD, found dead, ruled a suicide. Philly Sheriff's Deputy Dante Austin, found dead, apparent suicide. Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony Rodham, who was awarded all the gold mining contracts in Haiti after a devastating earthquake, just passed away. Lola Golemova, who worked for NASA and the World Bank, murder-suicide. Texas Police Chief Chris Reed, dead. Herb Sandler, who was copied in the Podesta email, which mentions a pizza-related handkerchief, dead. Glenn Cofield, founding board member of the Paragon Bank, murdered. Former Oklahoma Senator Jonathan Nichols, dead. Leroy Jeffs, who was speaking out against sexual abuse in the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints, which his father is, I think, is like the head of, dead. Clinton Foundation Foreign Policy Director Amitabh Desi, missing. Ex-model Emin Fidel, who outed Silo Berlusconi for hosting satanic rituals, was poisoned, dead. Top Obama economic advisor and Clinton administration economist Kruger dies suddenly. Ex-Big Brother star Natasha Jait, who claimed to have evidence of a child porn ring, was found dead of an apparent overdose. Detective Mark Minnie, who published a book exposing an elite pedophile ring, murdered. Former New York State Senator Jose Peralta dies suddenly after receiving a flu shot. And finally, Detective Mitosis P. Familia, who was killed in her car in the Bronx. There is a war going on right now behind the scenes. Now, I ended with Detective Familia because she was mentioned in a Q drop on May 15, 2018, at 1 a.m. in the morning, where Q points to 2 detectives who were murdered in mid-2017, suggesting that they had viewed the insurance file on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
And as it relates to President Donald J. Trump and his many detractors, including the Mockingbird mainstream media en masse, he had this to say.
You know, the same person who said there must have been bombs on 9/11, who previously talked about the bank's predatory lending scams, who talked about how oil is artificially priced by OPEC, who broke down how we were being scammed by countries abroad and on over the years. Say what you will about Donald Trump, and maybe he couldn't go full out doing to have to exist in this world, but Donald Trump has been dropping low-key red pills for 40 years, okay? There's a truther in the White House as we speak, who 1 month into his contested presidency, thousands of pedophiles start instantly getting arrested. Needless to say, things were starting to make sense.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
So that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
The United States strongly condemns the illegal disclosure of classified information.
if you vote for Hillary Clinton, I will give you a blowjob. Okay? Swear to God. And I am good. I am good. I'm not a douche and I'm not a tool. I take my time. I have a lot of eye contact. Yeah. And I do swallow. Yeah.
Let me just say this immodestly. I probably have a better idea as to what the president has to be held accountable for than anyone.
Have you read the Mueller report?
Yes, I have. The only
Even the blacked out parts?
No.
Oh, yeah,
The only-
right.
We're calling for that. They would show it to me, but I said, why? I'm not going to let you show it to me unless you show it to the whole country.
Oh, interesting. I would want to see it. Will they show it to me?
The only person who knows better than I why this president is not above the law, why this president must be held accountable, the only person who knows better than I do is the President of the United States. He knows what his violations have been.
I don't think he even knows. I don't think he...
Well, he may not care, but I think he knows.
Yeah, I think sometimes they do things and they go, oh, that's not allowed, and then they kind of go back and try to figure out what it was and how they can keep it quiet.
You know what really bugs me about that? Because when you see what they say, oh, I didn't know it was wrong to talk to Russians about this, I didn't know. I said, how do you explain that to kids in the hood when they're approached by law enforcement and they say, well, I didn't realize that I was supposed to do this or that. Well, you're supposed to know. But these very wealthy people with high-priced lawyers can get away with saying, I didn't know it was wrong.
That's why we need you to get in there and to take care of this and do something to these guys.
Sir, the Constitution says treason is punishable by death. You've accused your adversaries of treason. Who specifically are you accusing of treason?
Well, I think a number of people, and I think what you look is that they have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person. If you look at Comey, if you look at McCabe, if you look at probably people higher than that, if you look at Strzok, if you look at his lover, Lisa Page, his wonderful lover, the two lovers, they talked openly. You know, they didn't use their private server because they didn't want to get caught, so they used the government server. That was not a good move. He talked about the insurance policy just in case crooked Hillary loses, and that didn't work out too well for them. So you look at them, they want an insurance policy so that should she, for any reason, lose, remember, 100 million to 1. Maybe he said 100 million to nothing. But should she lose, we'll have an insurance policy and we'll get this guy out of office. And that's what they said and that's what they meant. That's treason.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
It's obvious that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's obvious he can't control his mind or his tongue. And what I've suggested, if now, because he's the nominee for the party, and he's entitled to briefings from the CIA, for example, I said publicly, give him fake briefings. Pretend you're briefing him. Don't tell him anything that you don't want to get out. And that's how I feel about it. I think that the man is a loose cannon. I think he's done so much to hurt our country with our international relations already.
But as a Republican nominee, isn't he entitled to get those briefings?
Give him fake briefings.
What does that even mean?
It means they'll tell him stuff. He won't know the difference.
You're basically telling the intelligence community to lie to him.
No, you don't. I'm not going to lie to you, but I still have to tell you everything.
One of them would further stop junk plans that can discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions, which I mentioned. Now this is a further strengthening of that legislation, reversing the Trump administration's sabotage, once again, of enrollment outreach. And again, as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day, we're all celebrating Mother's Day, we probably won't have a basketball game that day. We'll have this all done by then. It's outrageous that women of color die from pregnancy-related complications, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Complications at 3 times higher than.
I want to get to 2020 and some other subjects also, but before leaving Mueller, you're a lawyer. Did Donald Trump obstruct justice as you read the incidences as Mueller lays them out?
Well, I think there's enough there that any other person who had engaged in those acts would certainly have been indicted, but because of the rule in the Justice Department that you can't indict a sitting president, the whole matter of obstruction was very directly sent to the Congress. I mean, if you read that part of the report, it could not be clearer. I mean, as I read it, basically what I thought it was saying is, look, we think he obstructed justice. Here are 11 examples of why we think he obstructed justice, but we're under the control of the Justice Department, and their rule is you can't indict. But we do have checks and balances in America, and there is this thing called the Congress. I mean, you could not be more explicit than, please, look at this. You may look at it and conclude it doesn't rise to an impeachable offense. That's your job, but I'm giving this to you.
I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed reports.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
The difference is we don't engage in the politics of personal destruction. The fact is that if we just talk about the issues, for example, I think it would be interesting to people in these districts to know that the Speaker wants to take away the guarantee of Medicare. So I think talking about issues is where we should be. What is the difference in one person being Speaker than another? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble, quite frankly. I love the fray. I'm not disrespectful of people's views. I respect any positive things that people want to say, or even negative, as long as it's constructive.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength. And you heard how the Republican members, led by Mitch McConnell, the president, really demeaned the confirmation process, insulted and attacked not only Dr. Ford, but women who were speaking out. Look, I remember Republican operatives shutting down the voting in Florida
in 2000. I remember the swift boating of John Kerry. I remember the things that even the Republican Party did to John McCain in 2000. I remember what they did to me for 25 years, the falsehoods, the lies, which unfortunately people believe because the Republicans have put a lot of time, money, and effort in promoting them. So when you're dealing with an ideological party that is driven by the lust for power, that is funded by corporate interests who want a government that does its bidding, it's hard. You can be civil, but you can't overcome what they intend to do unless you win elections.
Hillary lives on down in Chappaqua Town with a big guy known only as Bubba. The Clintons, it is said, left a trail of their dead, including Chelsea's dad, Webb Hubbell. With a right to the core, 26 scandals and more, she trudged through the campaign undaunted. But she was not true, there was something askew when the votes of November were counted. Hillary was the pride of the Democrat side as a candidate that was very well seasoned. As baggage goes, she had way more than most, and Republicans were quick to cry treason, including her term with the Rose Law firm, where dealings were known to be sleazy. And later she learned that's the Arkansas norm, and the lying began to come easy. Bubba's impeachment made a tattletale sign as Hillary, well, it was tainted. But Broderick, she knew, as Lewinsky did too, that the Clintons were morally vacant. The day finally came, Hillary set out to claim her right to be first woman POTUS. But as Democrats cheered, the corruption was clear in the emails that WikiLeaks showed us. Relief finally came when Comey stepped in, saying not enough evidence to indict you. But later that year, when the evidence became clear, Trey Gowdy said it's been good to know you. Lies about Trump Hillary made on her stump had not put a scratch or a dent on. And on November 8, it was destined by fate, came the wreck of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Does anyone know where Bubba's love goes when a stain on a dress is a pop quiz? The president, they say, well, he tried to make hay. Depends on what the definition of it is. Lied his way through all the scandals, it's true. Paula Jones, Kiss It, and Whitewater. And all that remains is the faces and names of an illegitimate son and a daughter. With a career on the shelf, Hillary now talks to herself in the rooms of her ice-cold mansion. Bubba, it seems, still has young man's dreams of his sexual excursions now behind him. And just down the hall, Hillary plays with a ball. That's all her handlers will allow her. America will be great as the Trumpers celebrate when the votes of November remembered. Dems are depressed, socialism has digressed as the voter fraud failure starts to sink in. Stupid has no cure, but there's one thing for sure. It's the end for Hillary Rodham Clinton. The disgrace lives on down in Chappaqua Town. In separate bedrooms it's reported. Clintons, it is said now the marriage is dead when the votes of November were sorted.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending. But first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulation.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, not even Gmail.
Well, first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary.
Nothing was marked classified.
There is evidence.
Nothing was marked classified.
Now let me tell you what we found.
Oh my gosh.
110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email chains.
It was a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret.
Wasn't the best choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
And 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
With respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains.
I made a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top
It was not a good choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Many thought that someday it would make them smile. And those who said it had no chance were scowled upon and seen askance. So desperate was the hope to see a trial. But February made them shiver as it came clear he'd not deliver the news that they desired was not to be acquired. I know that many people cried when they read the news, it hurt their pride. So deeply in the pipe dream mired, collusion died. So bye-bye to the collusion lie. Russian agents, Putin's puppet, and a plot to deny. From inch to event, how the conjecture would fly. Can they let it go and just let it die? Let it go and just let it die. We all know that he's corrupt and his list of crimes is building up. So I'll just list them down below. While emoluments could have kicked the goal, collusion was their chosen role. Investigating all of it real slow. Well, the media then lost their mind as they blundered backward, fully blind. Collusion became news. Evidence not one of the clues. The other news stories all then were shut, while collusion filled every news truck. But I knew they ran out of luck the day collusion died. But they kept singing, bye bye, he's a Russian ally, puppet Russian agent and a treasonous spy. And every day more wacky theories would fly. Time to let it go and just let it die. Let it go and just let it die. Now when Mueller issued his report, the media could not contort it to save face, though they did try. They lost all credibility. Embarrassed is what they should be, and the damage done they cannot deny. They gave victory to the president, validation as if heaven sent. The courtroom was adjourned, no verdict was returned. And now when he screams about fake news, he'll be correct thanks to their ruse. A witch hunt he'll rightfully accuse the day collusion died. They were singing, bye bye, he's a Russian ally, puppet Russian agent and a treasonous spy. And every day more wacky theories would fly. Time to let it go and just let it die. Let it go and just let it die. I met a girl who sang the blues. She asked me for some happy news. I offered, but she just turned away. Those who followed actual facts instead of corporate media hacks would know that Mueller knew the only way. He farmed out criminal indictments to 7 districts. There's excitement, all of them pardon proof, not like the collusion spoof. So carefully he did anoint a prosecution starting point. The outcome couldn't disappoint. The day collusion died. Yet they're still singing, bye bye, he's a Russian ally, Putin puppet Russian agent and a treasonous spy. The Russian hysteria was misplaced outcry. Time to let it go and just let it die. Let it go and just let it die. So bye bye to the collusion lie. Collusion obsession gave the press a black eye. And if they persist, the damage will amplify. Time to let it go and just let it die.
Whoa! Boy, we have 63 days to go.
Top secret data purloined by a gremlin. Misdeeds exposed with some help from the Kremlin. WikiLeaks published the emails we tossed. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Draft beer and vino and vodka martini all disappear like I'm freaking Houdini. It's not a secret I like to get sauced. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Girls in blue dresses with DNA traces. Bill has me threaten the girls he embraces. With my assistance, he's free to accost. These are a few of the reasons I lost. When I'm lying, testifying, I concoct a tale. I look for excuses and others to blame, and then I won't go to jail. Tantrums and breakdowns and fake tears with tissues, obvious signs of some medical issues, fainting and stumbling and eyes that go crossed. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Because of my gender, I think I've been slighted. There's a good chance that I may be indicted. Image as cold as a New England frost. These are a few of the reasons I lost. Currency laundered through Clinton Foundation. Influence peddling that threatens our nation. All the offenses I've seemed to amass. These are the reasons that Trump kicked my ass. When I'm lying, testifying, I concoct a tale. I look for excuses and others to blame, but I still may go to jail.
Please subscribe to our backup channels, Net4Truth USA 2 Patriot channel, BitChute.com/net4Truth USA, and drop.space/@Net4Truth USA. We fly so close to the target, we are on our 5th fighter jet. We will be relentless and persistent until the enemies of freedom are defeated. You can support this channel by using the links in the description, but for a $100 donation, I will personally send you a autographed hardcover special edition copy of Land of Childhood's Fears. Also, visit my bookstore at lulu.com/Net4Truth USA. If you are viewing this video on BitChute, you can use the links in the description to support us, or simply click the green $ dot on our video to support this channel. Thank you. Links are in the description section.